afford. To have enough money for. Loan. Borrowed money to let someone borrow something. Profit. The amount of money left over after all the costs of running a business have been paid to make money after all expenses are paid. Prosper. To do very well, to be successful. Risk. A chance of damage or harm, to take a chance even if it could result harm. Savings. Money that is set aside and kept. Scarce. Something that is hard to get or find, little is available. Wages. Payment for work done.
Unit 1. Eureka, I've got it. Ideas. A person with wisdom once said, "An idea must begin in your head. It may come as you sit, or while strolling a bit, or even while lying in bed. An idea is a lot like a seed. To get started, it's all that you need. Each time that you think, your idea takes a drink, until it's grown big, yes indeed. You plant your ideas and then grow 'em. Develop your thoughts and you'll show 'em. Add a word at a time, plus a few words that rhyme, and you'll end up creating a poem." Maish Goldish. What do we need? From the time we get up in the morning to the time we go to sleep at night, we need things to help us survive. We meet these needs in a variety of ways. Finding water, building shelter, and weaving clothes are some ways we meet our needs. This woman is meeting a need by harvesting rice, a food upon which millions of people depend. Genre: realistic fiction. A fresh idea. One bright Saturday morning, Molly and her mom walked around the neighborhood. That is, her mom walked, but Molly ran, skipped, jumped over puddles, and visited the neighbors' dogs. Molly paused to look at the budding trees on her block. "I can't wait until summer," she said, "especially for Mrs. Fair's great tomatoes at her market stand." She pointed. Molly's mom stood looking at the empty lot where the market set up every summer weekend. She looked at Molly. "Honey, Mrs. Fair told me last week that she had to close her stand. She's really getting too old to run it anymore." Molly turned, stared, and put her hands on her hips. "But Mrs. Fair's stand can't close," she said. "It's the only place in the neighborhood we can buy fresh, delicious tomatoes." Then she added, to show she wasn't being selfish, "Everyone needs fruits and vegetables for a healthy diet." After they got home, Molly headed out to her backyard swing to think. "If only I could plant a garden," she thought, "but our yard is way too small." Just then, she noticed her neighbor, Mr. Taylor, looking at his daffodils. Molly knew he was thinking about how he had planted those flowers with his wife. This was the first spring since his wife had died, and Molly saw the sadness on his face. Then she had an idea. Molly cleared her throat, and Mr. Taylor looked up. Molly decided to walk over to the fence. "Hi, Mr. Taylor," she said. He waved and turned away. "Wait!" Molly cried. Taking a risk while she still felt brave, she rushed to gather her thoughts. "Mr. Taylor, Mrs. Fair isn't doing her tomato stand anymore because she's getting old, so I'd like to grow tomatoes. I don't want to get in the way of your flowers, though. I really like tomatoes." Suddenly Mr. Taylor smiled. "Molly, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but you've made me smile. Reasons to smile have been scarce lately. What do you want to do?" As Mr. Taylor listened, an idea came to him. "I still need a place to plant my flowers, but there's room for tomatoes. How about I make you a loan? I'll let you use a plot of land in my yard. I'll help you, and when your garden starts to prosper, you can repay me with a few tomatoes." Molly and Mr. Taylor shook hands on this deal. "But first," Mr. Taylor said, "you'll have to make an investment by buying some tomato plants at the nursery." Molly thought, "Well, I have some savings from my allowance, and I was saving to buy a computer game." She paused. "But I'd rather have tomatoes, so let's start right away." The next day, Molly bought all the tomato plants she could afford. Mr. Taylor taught Molly how to prepare the soil and place the plants. Finally, Molly placed stakes in the ground to help hold the plants up. Mr. Taylor explained, once the tomatoes come, the heavy fruit makes the branches bend. Then all they could do was water, pull weeds, and wait. When the fruit ripened, there were more juicy red tomatoes than even Molly could have imagined. "There is no way I can eat all these," she realized. On Saturday, Molly and Mr. Taylor carried several crates of ripe tomatoes to the market, and by the day's end, they had sold them all. "Not only did I get back the money I invested," said Molly, "but I also made a profit of $20. Mr. Taylor said, "Those are also your wages. You've earned that money." Molly beamed and said, "Mr. Taylor, maybe you could sell some of your flowers and we could run a market stand together." Mr. Taylor, picturing a garden of zinnias and marigolds, was already looking forward to next summer.